All right, here is our navigation update, our bi-weekly updates. We're halfway through a milestone. We're kind of in the middle of a milestone. So there are a few things that have been happening, especially on the design side. And we're just going to go through all of them and kind of give a mid-milestone update. So we are in 15.3. Testing has started on our designs. Austin's going to get into that later on. I've also created a new direction update, which I've linked here. And you can go through and see the diffs on that to see kind of what we just updated. High level on it is that we brought over the 3 ways that we're moving forward to ensure that we build and test the right things for our users. So for me, getting to this point has been really important because it took a while for me to understand how these 3 things work together. But essentially, our North Star vision that Austin's working on, as well as our quarterly SUS theme reviews and data, all of those 3 will play together as we decide what we build and what is our next features on the roadmap and how we build out our MVCs. So the SUS feedback, I think, is going to give us the best, even though it's a lag indicator, it's going to give us the best pulse on what our users are asking for and what they're having frustrations with. So adding those themes into our direction, now we can cross-link all of this together and make sure that we're meeting their needs. So that is it for the theme and direction update. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. Oops. There we go, stop share.
All right. And I will start sharing my desktop. Similar view, just jumping into the design section here. So the first thing I want to highlight, something that I'm super excited about, is we've started our research sessions. So we began with some pilots last week, and now we've had some more extensive data collection that we kicked off basically yesterday. I think we started recruiting on Friday, so we've now got about 24 user sessions that we can review and better understand how our users are perceiving the concepts that we're designing and trying to think about for a navigational direction. What I thought would be a fun little exercise for this video would be to run through them just to help explain a little more, not quite in depth, but just a high level overview of kind of what each concept represents. And then talk through how that appears in the user test. So for this round of user testing, we're using 6 different designs. Each participant's getting 2 designs presented to them. It's in a random order, so I don't know which one they're going to get each time. It's usually a surprise to me as well. And how I would describe these from a high level is there are 3 designs that kind of represent a similar flavor to how GitLab is today, with a top like global navigation and a left sidebar. And then there's 2 that have more of a pure left sidebar only interaction. And then a third, which also utilizes a left sidebar, but it's always persistent. It never changes. And it's a completely different view for how we think about GitLab. So hopefully none of our participants watch these videos because that would bias our results, but I think we're okay there. So this first design is showing that familiar environment where you've got your project in the left contextual side menu. The top bar has similar icons to what we have now. We've removed a lot of the color, the iconography, and the content to help our participants better focus on the elements we're concerned about. We really want to know about how they interact with the left sidebar and the top navigation. So they're given 3 basic tasks. We're looking to know how they might find issues, how they would create an epic in a group, because that would require them to navigate away, and then how they would continue working on a comment that they started working on before. So if you write something, leave it, how would you get back to it? We're just looking at some high-level tasks to get them to start thinking about the navigation experience in GitLab. So this is the first design. Second design, similar, but it's just changing the architecture of how we structure that left sidebar. And I'm not going to spoil any of the user test results, but it is interesting to see how, even with a similar layout, how just a simple switching of a few elements can really change the perception of how users feel about the design direction. Again, another familiar type of design here, except this time the breadcrumb has been pulled up into the top bar, and our project items on the left sidebar have been reshuffled a bit into different areas, which we've been hearing some feedback on. And again, we're just trying to see, like, does the kind of existing structure that we have today fit the mental model of our users and the way that they expect to interact with GitLab? Some have really strong opinions, and it's quite fun to hear their thoughts around it. But know that from the previous research, meaning like back when this was initially implemented back in like version 9, this was a rather beloved design. So this idea of having a global top menu and a left sidebar is something that we did want to make sure we kept as a option to explore for the future. Moving from there, this one has a left sidebar type of navigational experience. So to try and help tie together some of the awareness, I've kept the far left, that darker gray, that black, to help kind of represent that global perspective that we have in the top menu today. Next to that is our contextual menu. Again, just kind of playing with the elements that might appear there and seeing how users would resonate with finding things without having the words there. It's interesting to see sometimes when they would perceive something to appear in just a chunk of where these icons are, like maybe just in this area here or down here or down here, and comparing and contrasting that to the other designs. Most of them all have about the same element, so that helps kind of keep things on an even playing field. Again, sticking with that left sidebar only design, this one's just structuring it top and bottom and just seeing how users perceive where we move things. How does it feel to them? Are things clear? Do they dislike it? Why? Learning more about what their expectations are and how we can help improve, hopefully, the direction that we're going. The things that we definitely hear a lot of users are feeling overwhelmed. They feel lost in the product and they want to know that things are familiar and they want to be able to find what they care about, but not have it be too many clicks away. It's quite the delicate balance. And again, like I was saying earlier on, this was a higher level concept where if we were to completely flip GitLab over on its head and everything was a top-down view, how might it be to have a static left sidebar that never changed? Issues shows you all issues. Browsing would show you all of your projects, all of the groups. Again, we're just presenting different concepts to users just to kind of get a gauge of which direction would they prefer we go, but also understanding why. So not just like, oh, I visually prefer this, but better understanding, does it actually help them navigate around the product better? So that's what we're doing in these research sessions. So I'm really excited to see this going, because this will start our feedback loop on what we can start ideating on, and then finding another more refined vision that we can, again, further test, because we really want to solidify the direction that we're going before we just start implementation. But with that, we still have some efforts going in parallel. So Nick Brandt has been kind enough to continue some of the design ideation around the menu. So we have some research going around that. And the goal is to better understand how we might create an MVC that could incorporate the feedback that we learn from the bigger concept testing. So let's just say the existing kind of style of having a top bar and a left side menu, those things seem to fit well. This could give us maybe our first jump start into what we could do next, or it might help inform how we'd want to refine this in the future. And to just get all that things going, we got to have a good script ready, a good test plan. And so that's what Nick Brandt's been helping us out with.
Nice. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah.
All right. So continuing on from there, there's no updates for data. Our next one will have some, because that will be after the next PI review. In terms of roadmap and items that have shipped, we did close our spike on finding all of the navigation items that don't have tracking. And then we've also created a new issue after that issue to implement our own tracking on every item. So this is still, the team is figuring out what they want to call each of the items, how we want to categorize our events so that they scale across all different types of navigation. For example, we don't want to have the term top nav embedded in an event if we go with one of Austin's designs and one of those items moves over on left nav. We just have to be careful that we keep our tracking codes consistent and fluid enough that they could go anywhere. We have a a community contribution that shipped on avatars, which we've linked here. And then we've got 3 other MRs in review. One is a tooltip to merge request shortcuts, which is really cool. The second one is of interest. This was moving push rules into settings so that it would, or in group push rules into settings. That one has taken a little longer than we thought because we had to make sure that settings was always showing for group maintainers. And we've done that. We've added some logic so it does break, or it doesn't break the permission scheme, and we can let group maintainers get to push rules and settings. So that one's awesome. And that one's in review, hopefully should merge soon. The other ones, same as this fixed namespace avatars, these are also in flight. I'm not sure on the timing of when those will get through, but they look like they're in good shape. So that's it for the biweekly update. I'll post this in the channel. Please ping me or Austin with any questions.